Alright, so welcome back to another video. On this series, I'm going to talk about Tesla. So I'm going to talk about everything from ordering a Tesla all the way to receiving a Tesla, thoughts that go into it. And this won't be my personal Tesla, but if you subscribe, leave a comment, like this video, and let me know what else you want to see, and I'll definitely start posting more Tesla videos. So first step is, you know that you want to get a Tesla. So let's go to the Tesla website. And this is probably after looking through Chevy Bolt, Nissan Leaf Plus, all the other EVs like Jaguar I-Pace, all those things. And then you finally decide maybe you want the Tesla. In particular, I'm going to be talking about the Model 3 because that's the new thing that everyone talks about, and it's the cheapest one, relatively, depending on what you get. So first thing we need to do is custom order on their website, and you need to decide what type of battery size you want, right? They do have standard range and also long range rear wheel drive, although you have to call in to ask them about this, and the pricing is a little bit different. I know for standard range it's $35,000 and no autopilot is included, whereas for these options here, autopilot is included. Okay, so the first thing to consider is how long is your daily commute. If it's less than 100 miles, you probably don't need long range unless you live in a cold climate where your battery is going to be affected. So if your commute's less than 100 miles every day, you could charge at home like every night. So standard range plus is probably good enough. The biggest difference would be the difference in the interior, and this is a difference that Tesla likes to talk about. I think it's not that big of a deal. The main difference is the premium audio. So standard range plus does have all the speakers, but they're all software limited, so you don't actually get to see them, or you don't get to use them. Whereas in the premium interior you do, and premium interior comes with the long range. I don't think that you'll actually be able to hear the difference in the audio, just because the upgraded audio is good enough. I've tried it in some other people's Teslas, and it's honestly good enough. But if you really care about your audio, if you're audiophile, you could shell out a little bit more money for the long range. And also, who knows, maybe Tesla will in the future let you upgrade just the audio. Another thing is the satellite view maps, and I think that this isn't something that's necessary. I think that with satellite view, it actually clutters the screen. There's just too much going on. Live traffic is nice, but as long as you use the navigation on the Tesla, even in standard range plus, it'll know about the traffic and just won't show you. And I think that's honestly enough. You don't have to see the traffic. You can just look at the time and you can kind of know. And if you really did have to see it, you can pull out your phone and look at it. In-car streaming, music, and media. Personally, I think Spotify is good enough. Or it's actually better. Using the Tesla one's a little bit clunky. It's a little bit weird. Using your Spotify, it just works, and you know exactly how to use it because you've used it so many times on your phone. So I think that that's a little bit easier to use. Internet browser, I mean, if you want to use the screen in your car as an internet browser, go for it. It is extremely fast, but I also don't think that's necessary. This is kind of a preference. I think having garage door opener in your car is fine, so it doesn't really matter to me. And that's basically the difference. So for me, right now for this configuration, I'm going to go with the standard range plus. Now the next thing that you need to consider is the exterior. So you can see that I already selected white, but basically the difference in the colors aren't just the color. So here you see that it's solid black, and for gray and blue it's metallic, right? Metallic. And then for white and red it's multi-coat. But you also notice that the price changes, so red is $2,000. So that's a huge difference. Now, is it worth that difference? Sort of. So for black, if you look at a lot of cars that are black that aren't shiny, those are most likely just plain solid black. BMW calls this jet black. What happens for this is when you wash it a bunch of times, all the swirl marks that you get on there are going to show up really well, which isn't a good thing. Whereas if you get the metallic ones, those will hide it a little bit better in the sunlight just because of the metallic. Same with the multi-coat. It'll hide the scratches a little bit better. You could combat this with a full car wrap. That's also really expensive. So I guess it kind of depends on your color preference and also how well you want to protect your paint. For now, I'm going to select the white one. Another thing that you'd want to consider are the wheels. Now do note that these 18-inch wheels have the aero cap covers, which help efficiency. They are a little bit ugly in my opinion, but you can always just take the covers off, and what you get is actually like a gray finish of these. So it does still look nice. Another difference to consider is the ride. 18 inches ride a little bit softer. It's not as sporty, so that's one huge difference. I would suggest you go out and test drive a Tesla so you can see the difference. And then the last thing would be the look. So the 19-inch, between this gap, between the wheel and the car, there's a smaller gap than with the 18-inch wheels. These will have a bigger gap. You can't really see it in the picture, but that's what will happen. Also, another side note, go find a car that's blue, because their blue doesn't really look like this in person. So I would go see that in person. Another thing, interior, I don't want to talk too much about this because this is kind of your preference. White kind of looks like stormtroopers, and I think that it'll get dirty faster, especially if you keep the car for like 10 years, whereas black probably wouldn't. Tesla does say that it shouldn't matter, but you know, I think it'll still make a slight difference, so I would just pick the black one. Also, it's $1,000 cheaper. And the final thing is autopilot. Now you can see that I selected it earlier. That's just me messing around with the options. But why would you want this full self-driving capability? Because right now, all these things, these are the same things as what Tesla used to offer as enhanced autopilot. The main difference now is with buying full self-driving is a promise that later on they'll upgrade your car. So they'll add in hardware 3.0, which is supposedly 10 times faster, and these things where it can respond to traffic lights, stop signs, automatic driving on city streets. Hopefully, these do help. And you know, you could say in a couple years it's not going to matter. All cars are going to be like this. Maybe that's true, but being at the front end of technology, you always need to pay a little bit more to get started. Maybe you can be the one that does this. I think it's something that's cool that you can mess around with. And also, driving with autopilot is just a little bit safer. You still have to be cautious, but you know, if you're getting really sleepy, you don't have to focus your attention on everything, but you can still drive to where you need to get. Maybe you need to get home. Also, a lot of times people don't check their blind spots. So you know, with full self-driving, you can actually change the lanes without looking in the blind spot. You can still be the one that's like, okay, now I want to change the lane, and then you flick it on, and then the car changes lanes. So you can still check, but I think it's just a good option to have just in case. Elon Musk did say on May 1st the price is going to go up. I think it'll go up to about $8,000, and if you buy it after delivery, it'll be $10,000. So that is one thing to keep in mind. And that's it. So let me know in the comments if you have any other questions. And I'm going to bring you more Tesla videos soon.